Former South Carolina Governor and Congressman Mark Sanford has now added his name to the list of Republican candidates hoping to succeed the late Lindsey Graham in the U.S. Senate. Sanford joins Graham's sister, Darlene, South Carolina Representatives Russell Fry and Ralph Norman, and businessman Mark Lynch, among others, as those hoping to be named the GOP nominee for the general election. CBS News political reporter Zak Hudak joins me now for more on this. So, Zach, Lindsey Graham's sister Darlene also now running for his seat. So how does Sanford's announcement to run change the dynamics of this race?
Chanel, it complicates the situation for Lindsey Graham's sister. What it does is it makes the field a lot more filled up with candidates. There are now 4 major candidates. You have Darlene Graham, you have Russell Fry and Ralph Norman, both sitting House members from the state. So there are a lot of folks who have pretty good name rec in this race now. And in order to advance from the first round of this race, you need to, in order to not force this into a runoff race, you need to get 50% of the vote. So now that we have essentially 4 well-known candidates, it's going to be very difficult for any of them to get a majority and not have to go into a runoff with the second place candidate. So it makes things much more difficult for her. It also creates another lane. Most of the well-known candidates in this race are fairly aligned with President Trump across the board. If you look at if you look at the new entry to this race, he's someone who is different from the president. Actually, briefly was going to challenge him in 2024. There are questions about what he actually wants. Earlier this cycle, he had declared to run for his old House seat and then pulled out of that in order to start a nonprofit focused on debt relief. So this is a candidate who's been a little bit all over the map for the past 6 months or so. But there's no question that this makes the path a heck of a lot harder to move forward for Graham, for Norman, for everyone else who's eyeing that Senate seat that was vacated by Lindsey Graham.
Interesting. Okay, Zach, I also want to ask you about something that happened during Tuesday's primary, because we saw the Justice Department sending officers to essentially monitor 3 polling sites in Arizona. So explain why this happened and, whether we can expect to see more of this as we head into the midterms.
I think this got so much attention because Arizona is really ground zero for ideas of election fraud, for lawsuits, for battles fought over how elections were administrated. Really since 2020, when President Trump was rejecting the results in that state. And then it really snowballed when Kari Lake in 2022 refused to concede after losing a statewide race in Arizona. So it's a place where there's a lot of distrust with elections. But I don't think that viewers should look at this as the result of problems. This is something that the Justice Department does every single cycle. They pick races, they pick districts that they think have the potential for issues. And preemptively, they send poll watchers. They did that in 2024 in 86 different jurisdictions across 24 states. So this is something that's going to happen far more broadly. And just because it's happening in a place that has had disputes over elections in the past doesn't mean that there are issues there right now. So I think we'll see much more of this spread out. And the reality is this is a good thing. This is a safeguard to ensure that nothing goes wrong. But what it also does is for folks who may have concerns about elections, most of those concerns may be unfounded, but this gives them peace of mind to know these election officials are being watched as they count ballots.
Okay, Zak Hudak, thank you.